Hi everyone. I just woke up a little bit ago. I usually do not sleep that long, but I'm having nightmares at night. Uh, this has happened to me a few times. Well, a lot. Uh, I'm sure my grandma can remember from when I was staying with her, waking up to me having nightmares in the middle of the night. But at 44 years old, still having nightmares about things that happened to me when I was younger. I've got severe PTSD and I have nightmares about that about things happening to my children. And it sucks because I don't know if they're safe. I don't know what's going on. The only one that I know is doing all right is Haley. And I know that she will be okay. She's a good mama, and she's got a good, for the most part. Anyways, I'm just stressed out and not doing. Had a couple seizures this morning, and I know I need to get back on track and working on this story thing, and it's not a story, it's my life. But I've been talking to the lady that's helping me with it, and talking about it is just hard. Life growing up was not easy. There was lots of hitting, my mom couldn't leave the house and leave us with my dad without him trying to take advantage of me, take me in the shower, take me out to the couch after the kids went to sleep. If he had to sleep on the hide-a-bed, I was there with him. And I couldn't even go to school without being worried about getting called home for a beating. I even remember an episode where my mom was going to a phlebotomy class at Lane Community College in Eugene. She had beaten me so bad I had bruises all over my arms, and she didn't want me to go to school because she didn't want it getting seen. And I had a school counselor. His name was Jack Scruggs. There's certain things I'll never forget. He started getting involved in asking my mom questions about things, and I was talking to him, and I mean, he started coaxing things out of me, and my mom was getting scared and worried about things, and I mean, teachers were asking questions, but my mom took me to school with her, and I remember her sitting across from me at the cafeteria at the college, and she literally said to me, "Are you stupid? Why didn't you wear a long sleeve shirt? Now everybody can see your bruises." And it's like, you're sitting there, I'm sitting there, and it's going through my head, and I'm thinking, I'm not stupid. You're stupid. You beat me, but at the same time, I'm afraid. I'm scared that something else is going to be worse. But I remember being so sore and being beaten so bad sometimes, I thought she was going to kill me. I remember standing in front of the sink, and I'll never forget the dish soap Crystal Octagon. If you guys can look that, they don't even sell it in the stores anymore. It's a liquid degreaser. Is why they don't sell it in the store. And my mom would dump that stuff down our throats. I mean, literally gulping it if we were in trouble or anything else. And I remember I was doing dishes in front of the sink. Our address was 643 Smith Street in Harrisburg, Oregon. And it was probably the worst place we ever lived, not because of the house or the school or anything else, but it was when my mom was the worst. She had reached her peak, and she was stressed out all the time. I was doing dishes, and she literally took her foot and just shoved it into my back. And my stomach went up against the counter, And it was the first time I'd ever had the wind knocked out of me so bad I thought I was going to die. I felt like I couldn't breathe, and I was down on the ground. And whenever something like that happened, or like we were down on the ground and felt like we were in a lot of pain or crying or couldn't catch our breath, she'd be like, get up, you fucking idiot. Get up, you bitch. Get up, you fucking, she had nothing. I mean, she'd grab us by our hair and drag us in our room and tell us to stay in there. She had no empathy, no nothing, no, there wasn't any. There wasn't any. But if she was crying, if it was in the middle of the night and she was crying or she was fighting with my dad, she would scream for help for us. And there was no reason to scream for help because she was the one that was doing it. I mean, she would chase him outside, and I mean, he was the, I hate to have any sympathy for him, but she abused all of her husband, even the one that was abusing me. She would throw scissors at them. She would try to stab them with knives. She would hit them. She would throw logs through their windshield. She would lock them out of the house. She would make them sleep outside. She would take their money. She was always in control of all the money of all of her husbands, and she would threaten them with things. She would spy on them. And what was so funny about spying on them was, why are you going to spy on them when you're cheating on them? She took me, she stayed at this place called the Guest House in Junction City, Oregon, and she would take me there. And the kids, they don't remember. That's why I laugh when, one of my sisters, Brittany, recently said, we've all had the same shitty life. Well, we've all experienced shitty things, yes. But you don't remember the things that I remember. We have all experienced our own hell. But none of us are better than the other. And I don't care what, she can call me a piece of shit. That's fine. I don't think that Brittany is a piece of shit. I think she's a wonderful mother. I'm proud of her. What irritates me the most about her is when she calls me those things and she doesn't know. She's ashamed that because it's her dad that molested me. And she has kids that are his grandkids. Of course he didn't touch her. He was her daughter. But he's also teaching Sunday school in Boardman, Oregon. He's a photographer. He photographs kids. His name is Matthew Dennis Kegler. He goes by Matt. And he's probably done it to somebody else. I mean, who knows what he's done? Or if he touched one of the other kids and they just don't want to come forward. But to not believe me or to tell me if it happened to you, why didn't you come forward? Have you watched TV, Brittany? Do you even know that people don't, when a kid gets molested, they don't just stand up the next day and say, oh, hi, I got molested last night. That's not the way it happens. It doesn't happen like that. And yeah, I went to live with him at one point. I was forced to by the state after I was taken from my grandparents, or I couldn't stay at my grandparents. When you're a teenager and you've been locked up and beaten and everything else in the book, you don't speak up about stuff until sometimes later in life. And once I started going through counseling and treatment, and after I had gone through my big drug binge and everything else, everything started pouring out. I just started feeling it. I had lost my children. My health was going down the tube, and of course then, and when I lived with him, I never went home. The first time I lived with him was in Sun River when he was living with his dad, who, my grandpa Art, who's supposed to be Catholic, who's living with his girlfriend in the house because he had left my grandma Rose, who was sick at home, and he's living with his girlfriend. And he had many, many, many girlfriends. And I didn't have any respect for my grandpa when he tried to sit down and talk to me about life. When here he is cheating, and I'm living with my dad who had molested me, there was no bond there. We didn't spend time together. We didn't. And then he forced me to move to Boardman, and I did terrible in school. I misbehaved. I made a bad name for the family. They were supposed to be the Keglers, You know, Jerry Reeser was my uncle, owned Reeser Stadium, Oregon Beavers, and I misbehaved. I did things like stealing my cousin's sweatshirt, and but I didn't know. I had no clue. I was 14. I didn't have any idea, what I had no good example. I had followed my promiscuous mom around. Like I said, she took me to the guest house when she cheated on my dad when she was sleeping with Roland Luthi, which was her third marriage that lasted, I don't even think it lasted a year, maybe 6 to 12 months. And she was sleeping with him. She slept with some guy named Stuart, which she had been sleeping with for years, even when she was with my biological father. I can't even tell you. Some of the guys I don't even know names, but when she partied, she would party in front of me, and I was also her confidant. And if there wasn't a man home in the house at night, she got scared or thought someone was in our garage, which was detached from our house, so there was like a breezeway from our back door to the garage door, and so she was like, "Here, you hold the knife, and I'll hold this, a rolling pin or whatever. You go first, and we'll see who's in there." And but my mom, she doesn't. There was no protecting me. She didn't take me to the doctor if something was wrong. I had to fight through everything. There was no, when my seizures started, I remember one time I had one at the top of the stairs and when we were living in Bend, and she just kicked me down the stairs. Kicked me down to the main stairs, called me a baby. She'd throw a pan in my room and just make me, because she knew. She knew that I was having problems. I remember my brother coming from across the hallway, Matthew, and he'd ask me, he'd be like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I mean, it was just, there was no empathy. She did the same things. I saw her beat my brother. I saw her beat my sisters. I remember her just one time, Tanya, when she was a teenager, she left a stew or chili or something, I don't know what it was, in the crock pot and went to run some errands, and Tanya hadn't stirred it and it had burned to the bottom or something. My mom cooked everything on high, and when she came home, um, it had burned, and she yelled and screamed and hit Tanya, and I just remember always feeling like I wanted to step in. At that time too, I was staying in her house because I had lost my kids. I wasn't there long because I couldn't take it, and also she decided that she was going to toss me out on my butt. She wasn't going to stand by me through my treatment, and uh, it's funny, on family nights when people go to treatment at Serenity Lane, uh, not my mom. She ain't gonna go because then she'd have to talk about our past. My mom has never gone to counseling with any of us or shown up to any of our I mean, I've been through treatment, my sister's been through treatment, my brother has tried to access help many times. That's why I laugh when she tries to blame other people for what happened to my brother. Matthew shot himself in 2016 on October 3rd, and she tries to blame everybody and nobody's to blame, but she put my brother through hell, and that's where it started. I don't think my brother would have turned to drugs or anything else if it hadn't started with his childhood. When he first ran away, he was 16, and he had my mom threw a hammer that missed his head and then tried to push the garage door, and to bring the garage door down, and my brother barely made it out the bottom and ran to my house in Junction City. And ever since, he had gotten out of the house after that. And Brittany ran away, but she ran to her grandma's house in Boardman. And Tyson ran away. He ran to Boardman. Tanya, Matthew and I picked her up after her stepdad shot himself, Ed, and my mom had found him at his office, and she was throwing her stuff out the window while my mom was in another room, and my brother and I picked her up and brought her to my house. So my brother was living with me at the time, and Brandon ran away, came to my house, stayed with me. Adriana ran away, came to my house, stayed with me. And my mom always tried to get, call the cops or get people involved, but it's like, and she always used to take things out on me or destroy my property or write things on my windows, my doors, or whatever she could do to make my life hell. And what was I supposed to do? Slam the doors in my siblings' face when I knew what life was like? And everybody turned out different. Everybody had a different, and I took my mom back so many times, and I got so much shit from it, from my siblings. I'd take her back in my life, forgive her, okay, let's start over. I gave her, just last year, or a couple years ago I did, but I warned her ahead of time. I said, if you hurt me, it was after I had had this surgery, when I had my VNS put in. See that scar there? That I had a vagus nerve stimulator put in, and we thought that was going to be the answer to what was going on up here, and it didn't work. And my sister Heather came over in the morning, just out of a surprise, and I didn't think anything about it. I mean, I was surprised that she came over, and I let her come over. I haven't seen her since then, nor do I want to. I don't want to see anybody. I've started having a relationship with my cousin Katie, and that's really been the best thing that's happened to me. But my sister Heather came over in the morning, and I let her in. My mom can't stand her. So I was talking to my mom. My mom called me on the phone that day, and I told her, and my mom's like, are you fucking kidding me? So she went straight back to she's always been the kind of person, her and my grandma, which I think my grandma wouldn't be that way without a daughter like that. But she's like, if you are going to talk to your sister, I don't want anything to do with you. I said, you know what? Fine. I had warned her, you're not going to do this to me. You're not. And it hurt. It hurt for a couple weeks because it was like, all right, I've lost my mom again. And already before that, Trevor didn't want anything to do with her. She had already come to visit me a couple times, and Trevor and his family hate her. They can't stand her. Trevor's mom couldn't understand how she just couldn't, who doesn't show up when their kids are dying in the hospital, or when their kids are sick, or, and she's cruel. The things that she does are terribly cruel. And then to do what she did that day, and to stress me out when I'm going through things that I'm going through. When I get stressed, like just the other day, my sister called and she's like, I don't know what's going on with your son, but I think he's using or whatever, and he's asking me for money. And just listening to the voicemail, I was shaking. She does have a lot of my mom's personality. She's very mean. My dad's afraid to even talk to her or spend time with her, because you can't trust people like that. You don't know what they're going to say. You spend time with someone, you sit down and chit chat with them for a while, they could run off and say, oh yeah, and while I was there, she raped me. I don't trust my family. I don't want to be around my family. I don't ever want to see my family, my siblings, except for on my dad's side, and my dad and my cousins, and right now just my cousin Katie, because I don't know the rest of them, and her kids. And other than that, I'm gonna wrap this up and get some rest and de-stress for the day, and I'm just I miss my kids. I'm gonna miss my kids every day. But I sent their adopted mom a message last night, and she always tells me, they're my kids. Well, Henry, if they're your kids, then take care of them, because they're reaching out to me for help, except for Haley and Cameron. And, it's don't enable them. Don't give them money for drugs and they need help. They need they don't need to be enabled. I gave Carson an alternative yesterday to come home, and he just kept making up excuses. And then he started telling me stuff. His dad's filling his head full of lies, like telling him the reason why I lost them was because I called the cops. No, Colton called the police. Colton saved my life that day because I was having a seizure, and I left in an ambulance. And I mean, this goes on, and that was on April 2nd, 2004, on Carson's birthday. And this just goes on forever and ever and ever. There's so many pieces to this. I mean, the puzzle pieces are just everywhere, and it's digging for them all. So, I hope everybody has a good day. I notice I lost some subscribers. Probably people that just think this is drama, or people from my family. Who knows? But I thank you for the people that have stuck with me and believe me. And, a lot of people don't believe in rape or sex abuse. I know older people think that, like there's a stigma around it. You're not supposed to. It's a secret. You're not supposed to say anything. If you've been abused, you're not supposed to say anything. You're supposed to keep it a secret. Well, I'm not going to. I'm not going to keep it a secret. I'm going to tell everyone everything. I'm going to keep this going. And I have a huge hospital stay coming up, and lots of time on my hands. And when I get there, see, when I post a video from home, it takes like 5 hours to load, because I live out in the woods. So when I get to the hospital, it's on, and it'll be a lot easier for me, and I will need that. I will need something to do. And all my stuff is, Trevor has started getting all my paperwork. I have saved every court document, everything, every picture, every court document. I took a picture of everything I ever sent to my children, and I just want my story told, and I want it out there in case there's questions later. Like my grandkids have questions, like what about, who's our grandma? Who is she? And thank you, Zara. Thank you, Zara, for helping me. I appreciate it so much. You're amazing. For anybody to reach out to help someone write a book is amazing. Everybody have a good day. Stay strong.